Florida Maquis, your channel has a very strange name. It talks about a lot of different things, but that second word, that Maquis, is that Maquis or Maquis or what does that mean? Are you sure it doesn't have an R in it? Or are you going for Marquis? Because there was a Mercury vehicle some years ago that used to carry that. No, it's Florida Maquis. M-A with the accent on the Q-U-I-S, Maquis. Now, it's also pronounced by some folks like the common last name M-C-K-E-E, Maquis. So if that's easier for you to remember, once in a while we have to cover this particular topic, and we haven't for quite some time. And no, it is not named after a delicious flavor of Corsican cheese that can only be gotten in France certain times of year. What does Maquis mean? Well, this particular cheese is made from lamb's milk. And what do the lambs eat? Well, Maquis is a generalized term for scrublands or shrubbery. Now, what does it really mean in modern vernacular? Why would you pick this particular word? Well, we're going to cover that, but real quick, thank you to everyone who continues to join us here every day, gets involved, comments, Antarctica, Venezuela, whatever reason you're here. Very much appreciate you guys being here. And those of you who have stepped up over at the Patreon channel, it's been a lot of you lately. Thank you very, very much. It's why I keep the level only at $1 per month for everything over there. If I could set it at 50 cents per month, I would set it at 50 cents per month. Because the idea is creating the paywall speed bump that gets rid of the trolls who like to take over channels. It is fully refundable first 90 days. And if it's not for you, no problem. It's even less than that. If you sign up for an entire year, we can partner, put the content on Vimeo, and that keeps it away from Google and allows me to continue to have a channel here that I can talk to you guys at every single day. It's about psychological operations. It's about the idea of using your mind instead of your emotions to direct and control your life. And there's a lot of folks out there who think that that's what they're doing there. Well, I think about things every day. Most people in North America, all they do is consult their emotions about something and decide what to do based on how it makes them feel. What does that have to do with the Maquis? Well, the Maquis was a group of freedom fighters during World War II, the Spanish and French Maquis. The name was given to them by the Germans who were occupying France at the time because they would hit and then they would disappear, almost as if they would turn into shrubs. And they could never find these guys. They were very, very good at what they were doing. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of the French were collaborating with the Germans. So you had basically three choices. You could either be dead, or you could be a Maquis resisting the German occupation, or you could be a collaborator. Most French were collaborators, and so they were not liked. So the Maquis were actually not doing what they were doing based on emotions. They were doing what they were doing based on thought, because it didn't allow you to feel good about yourself being a Maquis. Now, Star Trek picked this up with the same idea. They had fictional races, the Cardassians and the Bajorans, and Cardassia had occupied Bajor, and this particular character was a freedom fighter, and they would hunt collaborators. Also, and we've talked about this extensively, the series Colony came out 2016, 17, and 18, I believe. And season 3, episode 1 was literally named Maquis. It's about a family hiding out in the forest, alien occupation, this type of thing. But the reason we're talking about it today, and this is where the rubber meets the road for today's video, is that it highlights something that was said recently by a very big channel operator that we've talked about a lot. You have a choice. You can be a collaborator, meaning work with the government, work with the powers that be part of their group, commonly today known as the Democrats. Or you can be Maquis. You can choose freedom and liberty over safety and security. And there are pluses and minuses to both. Now, many people romanticize being a Maquis and rebelling against the powers that be and going and running off and living in the forest and all this type of thing. What a lot of people don't realize is that life is not one where you can have any attachment to emotions. You just got to do what you need to do to survive. And especially to the ladies in my audience, can you imagine going 9 months, a year, 18 months with no access to a grocery store or a drugstore and certain things that might be needed? I mean, imagine thinking about that. It's a lot easier for guys, I think, than either women or children. But in the show Colony, one of the reasons we talk about it is that this particular family chooses to live a Maquis lifestyle, and they also choose to live a collaborator lifestyle. And it shows the pros and the cons of both, and why sometimes it's not nearly as cut and dried as you might think. Now, you said Florida Maquis, you mentioned a large channel operator that is seeing this in real life. Well, yesterday, Patriot Nurse put up a video titled Love Freedom. Guess who deems you a danger? And it's only about an 11-minute video. And in it, she talks about how she's seeing, her words, not mine, a bifurcation in the populace of people that are choosing safety and security over freedom and liberty. And that's what the whole 2020, pardon me, thing caused, was this dividing of people that you have to make a choice. Now, sometimes being that rebel, being the one that chooses the freedom and liberty, it gets a little morally hazy. Now, I'm going to go someplace. Oh, by the way, Patriot Nurse, I'm sure a lot of you know how to find her. The Patriot Nurse channel here. Title is Love Freedom, ? Guess who deems you a danger? Check this out. You'll definitely be prepared for the next part of this video. Now, Psychological Operations 101. What is the mission of a grocery store? Florida Maquis, what does this have to do with things? Stick with me. What is the mission of a grocery store? Well, Florida Maquis, that's easy, to provide groceries. No. The mission of a grocery store is to provide groceries and make a profit. If they don't make a profit, they don't provide groceries. That's why grocery stores put themselves in places where there's a lot of traffic. And big chain grocery stores are anchors, and other businesses move into the little strip malls around them. Because the idea is make a profit. In America, grocery stores are not there to provide groceries for you as a matter of national security. If they don't make a profit, they shut down and leave. How many of you have seen this? There used to be a grocery store, a very popular chain, years ago here in Florida called Harvey's, and they could no longer make a profit, and they were in a lot of little towns, and they had to board up because it wasn't their job to provide food and convenient groceries to the local people. The job was make a profit. Now, keep this in mind for a minute. I know this is going over a lot of stuff, but the idea of the Maquis, of being a Maquis, is to be a thinker, not a feeler. I used to care what people thought about me until one day I tried to pay my bills with their opinions. If your rent and bills are paid, food on the table and clothes on your back, and you don't have any money left over, don't let anyone tell you you're broke because you took care of business. I'm sure a lot of people would be on board with this. Pay your bills first. Pay your bills first. No matter what, get your bills paid. Under no circumstances, allow yourself to become a covenant breaker, a liar, and or a thief, which is basically what you could call somebody who would not pay their bills, right? Now, car repossessions are on the rise. Warning signs for economy. NBC News. What's going on here? Well, people sign notes on cars, and 5 years, 6 years, 7 years of payments. And all of a sudden, some years down the road, things have happened, things have changed, and now they can't make their payments. Years ago, my grandparents were dead set against loans for anything. And this was the argument they made. You don't know what a day is going to bring. I don't know what a day is going to bring. How are you going to go make a promise that you're going to be able to do something month after month after month for the next 7 years? And that's what a contract is, that you will, no matter what happens in your life, you will make that payment. If not, they come take the car. Well, all over, this is happening. See, it's not the job of the car company to provide you with transportation for your job. It's the job of the car company to make profit, as it is the repossession company to make a profit. You see, they're going to do this regardless of whatever it does to the economy. They're going to repo those cars. And some would say, well, it's not morally right to not pay your bills. Figure it out one way or the other. Well, what if the choice is do something immoral, which is allow your car to be repossessed, meaning don't pay your bills, or do something another thing that might be immoral to earn the money to pay the bill? Lie, cheat, steal, bear false witness? Would you go be a slimy car salesman and shyster people and manipulate them and learn how to tell half-truths to sell cars to earn commission to pay your bills? If you had to, would you do that? Some people might say, well, it's the lesser of two evils. You know, which evil is it? I mean, it's caveat emptor if somebody allows themselves to be manipulated. See, it's one of those very weird things about being a quote-unquote Maquis, or not being part of civilized society, or not being part of the collaborative society. It's going to force people into doing things in order to keep their word, pay their bills, do whatever they have to do. Underground economy. The idea here, underground economy. And a lot of the underground economy is morally a gray area. Now, here's where I make everyone mad. Who remembers me talking about Victoria Treese? Victoria Treese is a woman in the state of Florida. She's suing the state of Florida because she was caught between a rock and a hard place, and she had kids she had to take care of. She couldn't afford to have a 9-to-5 job, pay for daycare, so she started an OnlyFans account and started making money this way, and kept food on the table, kept clothes on the back, and did what she had to do, pay rent, pay for the car payment, take care of the kids' medical needs, all that kind of stuff. But she has an OnlyFans account where she takes pictures and videos of herself in, I guess, morally gray area states of dress. Now, you'd have to ask yourself this very odd question. What would you do? Would you drag your kids out in the middle of nowhere and make them live in a tent? Because, you wouldn't have to pay rent, you wouldn't have to pay car insurance, you wouldn't have to pay any of those bills. Or would you keep them in the house and do other morally questionable things to keep the money flowing? You see, these dividing lines get a little bit tough. And you can look, this is NBC6 South Florida. Mother with OnlyFans account sues Florida school district for banning her from volunteering. See, she did so well with it. She did so well with the OnlyFans account that she wanted to go give back to her community. And she wanted to go volunteer at her kids' school, meaning she wanted to be part of their education, part of their lives, and do what she could to help out. Well, somebody, and she didn't go there, and like I said, this is what you would see. Normal person, sweatshirt, very little, if any, makeup. Somebody in the school found out who she was and what she did. And they reported her, even though she didn't bring any of that to the school because they morally didn't agree with her decisions for her life. They banned her from volunteering in a school. Not one of Florida's proudest moments, to be very honest with you. Now, insurance companies refusing to cover certain models because they can't make a profit. Now, Hyundai and Kia models, what they're talking about here is that because they're so easy to steal, certain insurance companies aren't going to write them anymore. Now, what if you got a car under certain pretext, under a certain set of circumstances, at one point where everything was fine, and it's a law, you have to have insurance on a vehicle to be able to drive it, but then all of a sudden, the game changed. Because somebody figured out how easy it was for you to steal your car, now you can't get insurance. Changing the rules of the game after the fact. Who would then continue to make payments on a car they couldn't insure or legally drive? Or if the cost of the insurance went up so much that it made it prohibitive. You see, now it's really morally gray, isn't it? It's not right that they changed the rules of the game. And make no mistake, it's not that the insurance companies are going to go out of business if they write Hyundais and Kia models that are easy to steal. It's just they're not going to make as much profit. Capitalism confirmed. And that's why we started all the way back here. You see, this is where capitalism, socialism, the whole Maquis idea and collaborator idea all kind of get thrown into the same pot of stew. If we're going to have a society that functions, we're going to have to understand what our values are. Do we do things that protect people and lift people up and keep them safe? Or do we just say, hey, just let the free market determine anything and everything? No matter what, no government involved, no morality. And if somebody loses their car, oh well. Even if they change the rules afterward, oh well, I guess that's the case. If the grocery store decides to board up and now you've got to drive an extra 20 miles to go get groceries, especially with gas prices being what they are, oh well, that's capitalism. That's the Maquis lifestyle, unfair as it is. And if she happens to make dietary choices and exercise choices to look like this, and she can make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month or more, and she can go buy a car outright, go buy a house outright with a big swimming pool and 10 acres, and live as a Maquis because she didn't collaborate, but now you get to judge. Now you get to judge the morality of the Maquis. You see, this is where things get a little bit weird. And there are no good answers. Some people say, well, what is your answer, Maquis? That's the point. You see, it was a gray area back then. Because when the Maquis attacked the Germans, they took a lot of French collaborators with them. And that's why a lot of French people didn't like the Maquis. And it gave kind of power to the Germans to say, look, these people are, you need to turn them in. You need to report them because they're dangerous. And they were. So it's either way you choose, however you choose to live. Just remember, you don't get to take a moral stance. If you choose to be one of those who decides, I'm going to go out and I'm going to live in the forest and have my weapons and all that, you might be forced into making some very morally gray choices to continue that lifestyle. Same thing here. But at least you pay your bills. At least you honor your agreements. And you wouldn't have necessarily as much to fear from your neighbors. So it's a tough choice. It really is. And listening to the Patriot Nurse talk about how there's these two groups both groups have their argument. And I guess it's going to be one of those things where, even when you read biblically about when and this is the example that she uses about the Israelites coming out of Egypt. Look what happened. Look what happened when they were in the wilderness. One might argue that they were closer to living a more moral lifestyle as slaves in Egypt. Because when it was left to their own devices, what happened? It's where the Ten Commandments came from, is because they were worshiping idols and they were doing all these things, and the Ten Commandments was then given. Thou shalt not lie, steal, honor father, mother. All that came from Israel's time in the wilderness. Basically as the earliest version of Maquis. Living out in total liberty and total freedom sometimes has its own hazards. So I will leave it there. So anyway, Maquis. Maquis. So God bless. And once again, would love to have you over at the Patreon channel. $1 per month. That's it. Fully refundable. Fully refundable. First 90 days, no questions asked. You can pledge however much you want at Patreon, but there's no requirement beyond $1. $1 gets you all the videos. And there's hundreds of them going back years. So anyway, we'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.